Hey, Elle.
Hey, Abigail. What are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about aggression in our kiddos. And what is it and where does it come from?
Oh, you say it with such joy. Aggression. I'm sure not many people were expecting that. Okay, Abigail, let's talk about aggression today. Hi, I'm Elle Kwan in Hong Kong, and I'm your host at the Hand in Hand Parenting Podcast. We're a non-profit from San Francisco operating globally, and we decode children's difficult behaviors one parenting challenge at a time.
And I'm Abigail Wald, founder of realtimeparenting.com and also a certified hand-in-hand parenting instructor. And every week, Elle and I like to get together and we take a look at a certain area of parenting from a hand-in-hand perspective and take a look at how we can use the hand-in-hand parenting tools to help us navigate through those sometimes murky waters.
Yeah, and aggression is quite murky, isn't it? Even though you made it sound like rainbows and sunshine.
I'm really excited to talk about it.
Have you found your peace with aggression? Are you like embracing it and that's why you sound so jolly?
Well, I definitely don't enjoy aggression, when it's happening, right? I don't think any of us do, but I kind of like the spirit that our kids have. You know what I mean? So
right. That drive.
Yeah, I like the drive. But yeah, those moments of aggression, when it's like sibling against sibling or towards us, or towards themselves. I mean, that's the one that's actually hardest for me is when they're hating themselves, That is so sad to see. So yeah, no, it's no fun when it's happening, but I do love talking about it because it's fascinating. And I think we have a lot of power to help our kids through it.
Fascinating. How so?
Well,
what do you mean by that?
I mean, what are your experiences with aggression in your family?
Well, my experience is, in fact, kind of how I came to Hand in Hand, actually. I was finding my own aggression was reaching embarrassing levels where, I just felt, out of control. And also my son as well. I just didn't know what to do with it when it erupted. It was just, it was like, where does this come from? I hadn't experienced it before, really. Although in saying that, with my daughter much later on, there was some real verbal aggression, real losing it and kind of climbing away and hiding. It felt like a kind of inverted aggression. It was lots of aggression going on, but it wasn't fired out. It was fired in kind of thing.
Yeah, so that was the other kind.
Numerous kinds of aggression, actually. And I'm feeling really almost shameful about the fact that it was happening.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like a family out there that does not experience that. I wonder if you've never had aggression in your family, right? Could you please write in and let us know?
Yeah, we would love to.
We want to meet you.
We want to make a documentary about you.
Yeah.
It's so true. And especially like, I noticed it. Well, I was most surprised by it, I suppose, around the ages of 7 and 8. I thought, having a tantruming toddler who was hitting out was the norm. And you kind of, got over that and went past it. And then you didn't really see it anymore. And I find that one even less spoken about when it happens at an older age. And it wasn't really until I started speaking to some of my friends and saying, are you getting this as well? And we suddenly realised there was a whole class full of us that were, having kids that had kind of almost, what's the word? They kind of quietened down, I suppose, through 5, 6, 7, and then it all came bubbling back up again. That was a massive surprise.
So interesting you say that. My youngest son, who was typically much easier to sort of communicate about his feelings and, more had like a classic sort of easier stay, listen, ride, right? And not so angry usually.
Right.
Had like at age 8 went through a few months of just like amazing aggression, right? Like,
Really?
yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know if it was like a testosterone flush or just what was happening for him, but it was like rage for a couple of months. It was a very fascinating, actually, story about what happened with him and how we kind of worked our way through it. It was very interesting.
So what did happen? How did you work your way through it?
I was so surprised. I kind of like kept thinking like, is this really happening?
Right.
And then it just kept happening. And it was like, just, he was so angry. And one day, I don't remember how it started, but somehow I guess I had set some sort of minor limit, that flushed this just massive rage and stay listen. And I stayed with him and I said, oh, yeah. He actually tried to hurt me. And I had a moment where I was a little scared because he's actually 8 now, like it's not like a 2-year-old or 4-year-old, right? Like he's 8. And I had a moment and I thought, no, this is really important for me to stay really calm and know that he's going to be okay and I'm going to be okay. And I looked at him and I said, he was like, had me in a jujitsu hold. And he was like, I'm not going to let you up. And I'm going to, it wasn't like punch you, but it was something like, I'm going to fold your elbow back or something like that. And I looked at him and I just laid there and I told myself that I was safe, right? Because I could feel my body starting to be like, I'm scared, right?
Yeah.
And I mustered all the love I could and I looked him in the eyes and I went, I get that you really want to hurt me. And he was like, I don't want to hurt you. I'm going to hurt you. And I said, I hear you. Thank you for telling me. I really appreciate you warning me. And I get that you really want to hurt me and you're going to hurt me. And he kind of looked at me almost like testing, like, what are you going to do now? And I looked at him and I said, if you really try to hurt me, I will be okay. I can keep myself safe. I said, but I think you don't really want deep down to hurt me because you really love me. And I really love you and you're a really great kiddo. And he was like, no, I'm not. I'm mean. And it's so fascinating because this is the guy who, he's like the sweetest, most gentle, like used to collect flowers and make bouquets for everybody. I mean, just like the sweetest little mush pot you've ever seen. And he was going through this phase where he was suddenly really rough and angry and kind of violent. And I just kept holding in my heart what a good person he was. And I would say that to him. And so he said to me on this particular day, he goes, I'm mean. And I said, yeah, I get it. You want to be mean right now. And he goes, I do. I'm tired of being nice. Oh. And it was fascinating. And I said, oh yeah? Tell me about that. And he was like, I'm tired of being nice and everybody just gets what they want. I'm going to be mean now. And it was like he was trying on this new persona of like, I'm tired of being told what to do and being bullied and like me being the gentle person. Like that doesn't win. Like he even said something like, nice guys don't finish first or something like that. And I said, oh, wow. I said, yeah. I said, I love how kind you are. And he was like, well, I'm not so kind. I'm going to hurt you. And he just kept, and I kept holding it. And I kept saying, I get it. I hear you.
So is it like you were gently kind of stoking this anger out?
A little bit, yeah. But I kept seeing the good in him. And finally he like started to kind of cry but get angry. And he was like, you don't understand. There's no good parts of me left. And it was so, it was so grief filled. And then I said, oh, babe, I said, I see so much good in you. And he started somehow to talk about this forest, and it was like he was burning. And he's an artist. He loves to draw. And I said, do you want to draw me a picture of your burning forest? And he was like, yeah, you don't understand it. And he ran off to go get a paper and pen. And he started drawing me this whole picture. And then I said, oh, what's that? And he goes, well, that's where all the nice plants have burned down. And I said, oh, yeah. I said, and that's inside you? He said, yeah, there's almost no good plants left. I said, oh, goodness, I wonder what we'd have to do to save the forest. And so then we started coming up with this whole story about what we could do to save the forest. And he started telling a part of the story, and I would tell a piece of the story, and I would wonder, and he would go off and draw different parts of it, and he drew like this evil creature that lived in the bad part of the forest, and then he drew like these special magical plants that could heal him and sort of trick the evil guy to sleep, and then we would like make the forest green again. And I went and like in our mind, we took a water and we started putting the fire out in the forest, and it didn't quite work right away. And so somehow together we kind of like mythically replanted his forest, you know?
Bless. And I think that's the amazing thing that is really truly there, the power of listening to someone and holding that good space for them, right? And it can be hard if they're coming at you with anger, and traditionally you would definitely shut all of that behavior down. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
You know, those are not nice words. We don't say that. We don't do that, you know. And yet really what you're doing is kind of putting a band-aid on a hurt that would do better left in the air. And just I've been amazed as well, like this journey that I've had with my son as well was rooted in a lot of aggression, and that was the young aggression. It was the young aggression at 2 and 3 that I was, you know, semi expecting, but the absolute level, the force at which he would kick and he would come at you, you know, and then he would feel so bad for having done that. And you've spoken about it before. If instead he had shown his upset as tears, I feel like for me it would have been so much easier to have come at warmth. But it really is hard to do what you did and set, you know, maintain that feeling of, you know, he's good. There's just something there that's sending him off, you know. And in the end, I realised he was having such a hard time at school. He was really affected by what was going on in the 3 hours that he was away from me. And he literally needed every tool in the book, you know, to be able to function and deal with it. And so it was really regularly, almost every day, having these sessions where he just needed to lose it and let go. And, you know, now it's a lot better. He can move it out through his play a lot more. He knows that often our play sessions would become actual, you know, real fights where he was just letting things go. Whereas now we've got a bit more of a handle on, okay, this is, you know, a healthier way to play, and he'll be punching the pillows and things like that and getting it out in a different way. But it can be hard. I mean, what to do when you just feel like I don't have that space now? You know?
Yeah, and you know, look, if you really feel like your child is going to hurt you, and here's the thing, I mean, when we're in rage, we don't think clearly, right? Both for our kids and for ourselves, and so they can hurt, and so there are times that you have to make sure. You know, I was able to sort of read him in that moment, and I felt that I could keep myself safe. If I really felt in that moment I wouldn't have been able to, I would have had to make a different choice and say, thank you for telling me I'm going to step away, or I'm going to hold you, or I'm going to ask you to sit in this chair, you know, and I'm going to sit right by, or let's get you something you can hit, or do you want to go for a run with me, or, you know, whatever it is. Do you want to go for a run alone? Do you want to put on the iPod and go running? Like, what do you need, you know? You know, want to scream back and forth, just like guttural sounds, you know, let me just be with you, like whatever it is that child needs. But I think what's so interesting, you know, we talk a lot in Hand about this idea of aggression really being rooted in fear, right? And that, you know, aggression isn't so much of the time, like you said, like, you know, a child is aggressive and we think, oh my gosh, I have to teach my child not to be aggressive, right? But
not to hit, not to kick.
Right, but a
We don't
child,
do that.
they're not going to be aggressive if they don't feel threatened, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean we've threatened them, right? Often we're the safe space they bring the other threat to. And it doesn't mean that the threat was real. It doesn't mean somebody threatened them in a way that was meant as a threat. It just, if it was interpreted in a threatening way, right? So, preschool could be a threat.
Preschool,
right?
yeah, definitely. And the things kids say and the things kids do. I mean, you don't even have to have experienced it directly. You can see it going on in a classroom and feel threatened, can't you?
Yes.
You can be scared of your teacher because your teacher
Yes.
is big. It can be such a tiny thing to us and such a massive thing to them. And really, half the time, you just don't know. I think as well, it's so true that these are signals. And, as I said, we've worked through quite a lot of this hard aggression, I feel, for the time being anyway. But even today, things were slightly different today. Our routine was completely off. And he was doing quite well. And we did have a good play this morning, just out of nowhere, actually. And I felt like, oh, yeah, not bad, not bad. And then just as I kind of said, well, I'm going to step out for a few hours and I needed to get some stuff done. And he was kind of like hitting my bum. And I was like, I think I was a little tense. I was like, I don't want to go, but I've kind of got to go. This isn't working out, staying here. So, and I was like, please don't hit my bum. It annoys me. And he goes, hitting is caring. And it did just stop me in my tracks, and I felt my little heart soften, and I was like, I see what you're doing. And I just came down next to him. I went, I like hugging, it's caring. And gave him a big hug. But there's signals as well. When they come at you, they're telling you things, right? And just sometimes their language is slightly off than what you're expecting.
So great. That is so great. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's again, it's not to say, look, we're not saying like, oh, as parents, you should just get hit. Like that is definitely not what we're saying. I think it's just about this idea that we're always kind of fascinated with at Hand in Hand, which is, what is the underlying communication, right? And it doesn't mean that the best way for my son to tell me that he's feeling like nice guys don't finish first is to, try to get me in a jiu-jitsu hold and break my elbow. Like, no, not necessarily the best way to go about that. Or that hitting is caring, so you have to let me hit your bum. But is the point that we need to shame them for the hitting, or is the point that we can listen to why and care about why and understand what's going on? Because sometimes our kids are going through, sometimes it is simple and it's like, I'm just hitting you because I'm touching you and I like you and I like the feeling of my body hitting against you and that's my way of showing you love. And sometimes it's, I'm going through a really hard time and I don't have the words for it and I'm filled with rage and I need to show you my aching heart right now in the only way that I can. And, again, it's not that we're advocating like yay aggression, but the feeling is that if we can listen to the message underneath and really hear the child and believe in them and meet them in that place of caring and listening, and help them sort of get a lot of those feelings out, what we find is that those behaviors naturally disappear. They naturally go away.
I think that behavior shows that they are feeling at their absolute worst. Yeah. And then for you to be able to listen just reinforces this idea of, I love you, whether you're doing this or not, I'm gonna love you. I don't think you're bad. So when they can't feel good, we can feel good for them. And that is so cleansing and healing for them. Even though it can be really hard to listen to and to cope with for us in the moment. Yeah. And it's a world away from just accepting this behavior. It's more like understanding where this behavior is coming from.
Oh, yeah. I love that. You said that so beautifully. Yeah. It's not about accepting the behavior and it's not about tolerating the behavior. It's about understanding it and helping them through it. And yeah, because I think the other thing is like, there's this whole paradigm of like right and wrong. and I need to teach you what's right, and I need to teach you what's wrong. But what if it's all just communication, and there are things that I don't want you to do because they hurt me, but they're not wrong, you know? And I think that's hard for parents sometimes because they feel like, no, my child needs to know that's wrong. And I guess it's like, my feeling is, I think our children already know it's wrong. Like, they're not doing it thinking, hey, this is a great way to do this, any more than we are. Like, haven't we all as parents had that moment where we're like yelling at our child, or we're angry, or we're short, or we're, you know, whatever it is, and in our
the wall.
yeah, right? And you know it's wrong, right? But that doesn't help you. It's like, we know it's wrong. We're stuck.
Yeah.
And so somebody coming up to us and going, you know what you're doing is wrong, like, it doesn't help. Like, we already would love to make a better choice if we could, right?
Yeah.
So
I think how much longer we've
respect.
been around than they have. You know, we know.
Yeah.
They know on a level as well. But how hard to rein in your feelings like that and be told you can't have them.
Yeah. So that was kind of the just thought we wanted to share with you today, was that to, you know, it obviously to keep yourself and anyone else safe, siblings, you know, property, whatever, safe in the face of this aggression, very important. And this is certainly not the whole story on aggression, but just to pay attention to maybe what's underneath it, and to pay attention to the fact that often it's fear-based. There's often an anxiety lurking under there. And if you go back to our brain science episode in February, you will be able to hear that and understand that, you know, the connection of why when somebody is afraid, they might go into that rage and aggression to protect. And so what that's about, and how we can either shame them for the behavior of doing that, or recognize that it's a perfectly normal human reaction. And so if we can help bring them back to a place of love and acceptance and calm, and soothe their truest, deepest levels of their brain, that then they will already automatically make better choices and move out of the aggression. And I'm happy to say that after that day, my son stopped. It had been months and months. And after that day, he was so much more open and loose and playing and connected, and you know, really didn't ever try to break my arm again. No, but really, like, he was like happy, you know, he's like himself again, you know?
Yeah, I mean, mine was a lot longer. Our process was a lot longer. But again, you know, we found better ways, better outlets, I guess, for that aggression gradually together. And I feel like we're closer for it. You know, I know him so well now because of it.
Yeah.
So hope at the end of the aggression tunnel. I'm wondering if you at home are seeing this in your house and you're not sure about the root cause, I suppose, and you don't feel confident in stopping, you know, the violence behind it, as well as understanding it. You should try, we have a great online class. So you can just, once you buy it, you kind of go into this suite of videos, and they're fantastic at explaining this, maybe better than we have or had time for, but they'll also give you tools that you can really use with your child to understand where that aggression's coming from, what's driving it, but also to kind of move it on into other outlets. So I will put details of that course. It's called Helping Your Child with Aggressive Behaviours in the show notes. Go find it. It's an amazing course, really life-changing.
All right, so hope this has been food for thought, just to wonder differently about aggression. And if you have enjoyed this podcast episode, and if you're enjoying our podcast in general, please do leave us a review and a rating. We love to hear from you. Also, feel free to reach out to us on our Facebook page at Hand in Hand Parenting Podcast, and ask for things you want us to talk about on the podcast.
Yes, please. And thank you for the reviews so far. We love them. We love hearing from you. And if you want to get in touch with Abigail directly, you can find out more about her 30-day family reset, or you want to work with her privately, find her at her website, www.realtimeparenting.com.
And I know we've spent a lot of time talking about slightly younger children, and next week we're actually going to talk about tweens.
Oh, I have a tween. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
There's definitely things to talk about.
So I'm very excited about that. And actually coming up, I also am going to be separately doing a webinar with my friend Julia Storm of Reconnect Families. And together we are going to be doing a webinar about tweens and tech. So we'll leave that up for you in the show notes. And for those of you listening, you can go to realtimeparenting.com/p/tweens. So that's /P/tweens. Thank you guys. We will see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.